Total Chaos is the next game from the developer of Total Overkill, and we are trading in super fast-paced shooting and slashing for a very survivalist take on survival horror. In Total Chaos, we play a Coast Guardsman who has come to an island after a mysterious SOS, and what we find are grotesque monsters, secrets that have been long buried, and a lot of flesh arms coming out of everywhere. Our gameplay here is survival horror with a touch of condemned brutalness. The enemies will be coming at you from all sides, and your main form of damage is going to be the very limited ammo guns you'll find, and of course, taking any blunt instrument you can pick up and smashing an enemy in the head with it. The weapons are all rated differently in terms of durability and their normal and heavy strike. And during combat, you can either hit enemies with a light attack, the heavy, or attempt to parry them in order to get a stagger and then a counter hit. You can also pick up just about any small object that you can find and fling bottles, bricks, rocks, and more at enemies in an attempt to stun them. While there's only a few broad enemy types in this game, the behaviors they exhibit are really well done, and it makes it one of the better combat systems I've seen out of a horror game in some time. The enemies will do things that will surprise you while you're fighting them, and I can't tell you anything about it because it will spoil the fun/horror when you encounter them. But let's just say that if you're used to enemies just attacking you the same way, or just doing the same exact thing each and every time, you're going to be in for a very rude awakening. And you're going to need to do a lot of survival in this game if you want to get through it. And that kind of takes us to the other interesting aspect of Total Chaos. It feels like an evolution of Condemned, but with a little bit of Stalker thrown in. As you're exploring, you'll need to scavenge for any and all item and recovery bits that you can make use of. Now, this does become a factor of difficulty when we get to the hard mode that we'll talk about in a few minutes. As your weapons are being used, they will degrade, and you can use duct tape if you can find it in order to add more durability, or just slam nails and barbed wire on everything to increase its damage. You have to manage your health, your hunger, as well as your bleed or your bleed resistance. And recovery items can either help one of them or help one but at the cost of another, such as healing yourself but making you hungry, curing hunger but hurting yourself, and other things as you find all matter of not so nutritious food lying around this very long and forgotten place. And as you're going through, the game itself is linear. Each environment is set up to be the same thing, although I'm not sure if item drops are randomized or not. There are multiple endings as well, and best of luck to you trying to get this game's true ending without looking it up. I'm just going to say that right here. But Total Chaos is a very interesting take on horror and survival horror. While you are very active in terms of combat, again, being able to parry enemy attacks, just pull out your SMG if you're in trouble, this is not as action heavy or action rewarding compared to other horror games that we've seen in 2025. A lot of that has to do with resource management, and this is where the difficulty or lack thereof can happen in this game. This is another example of a game where I feel like it's easy or hard until it's not, and the difficulty can spike either high or low, all depending on what resources you find or get access to. Enemies can hit very hard, and there's a few sections where you'll have to deal with some very one-hit kill situations. And this is a great time to give a shout out to the environmental design of Total Chaos. The game looks and sounds phenomenal, and the comparison to Condemned is very apt. This is beautifully disgusting looking places to explore, and it does a great job of just unnerving you, wondering when something's going to come around a corner and get at you. And the actual set pieces themselves are also very interesting. There's a variety of them, with some of them involving stealth, those nasty one-hit kills I just mentioned, or the game just getting very weird and psychological at you. Now, with the difficulty, as I said a moment ago, you are very much going to be dependent on the resources that you have. When you first start playing the game, you're going to have, well, next to nothing. And it's not really until I found maybe halfway through was when I was just overflowing with inventory items. I actually at one point had to throw out first aid kits because I just didn't have the room in my inventory anymore to have all this healing. Now keep in mind, that's on normal difficulty. The game features a survivalist mode that we did not play that dramatically cuts down on all item drops and makes saving a consumable item rather than just infinitely being able to do it. And with the enemies and what you're doing in this game and managing your different resources, things can go south very quickly. Everything hits very hard, and the layer enemies can just demolish your health. And with having to manage your health and your bleed stat, you're going to have these situations where if you don't have enough healing items, you're going to be in very big trouble. And given the destructibility of your items, or your weapons I should say, it is possible if you're not careful to soft lock. That if you get to a section where you are locked in and all your weapons are broken, you have no ammo left, you're done. There is nothing more that you can literally do to get past it. You do not have an emergency backup weapon. There's no combat knife, no shove, you can't fist fight a giant monster in this game. And as I said, it can lead to the difficulty feeling a little bit imbalanced. And the best weapon that I found in the game was a harpoon gun. Provided the harpoons don't break or you shoot them off a cliff, you can keep reusing them as an easy source of killing a lot of the later and medium enemies. And it's this resource management and the challenge thereof that I think really elevates Total Chaos as a survival horror game that still has combat. While you can feel comfortable using your shotgun, running at enemy with a sledgehammer, countering them to then deliver a 1-2 punch, you're always going to have in the back of your mind the resources that you're consuming. If all your harpoons break, well, I hope you have a backup. Do you keep that extra sledgehammer even though it's weighing you down? Or you go for a lot later, but of course weaker weapons? And not to mention, of course, having to have enough food and resources on standby. If your hunger gets too high, you lose the ability to perform your heavier attacks and you have far less stamina for dodging/running, which can lead to a lot of trouble if you're trying to get away from something. And as I said a few minutes ago with the set pieces, with kind of the push towards the different endings, the game will challenge you in interesting ways if you want to go for that. And it does a really great job, given the fact that you're just walking through these levels, punching or hitting and shooting anything that gets in your way, of still making the game feel tense. And like I said, with the different enemy types, just throwing one additional enemy or having you get surrounded by even just 2 or 3 more can lead to a lot of challenge. And if you're having trouble, do not forget about your throwables. Being able to stagger an enemy or just kill them with a Molotov can definitely cut back on some of the challenge. With everything said, I can't think of any mechanical issues that I have with this game. It does expect you to kind of know what you're getting into when you first start playing it. If you're not a fan of resource management, you're not a fan of, again, getting up close and personal with a lot of strange monsters, this is not going to be the horror game for you. But if you're like me and you really miss the melee focus of Condemned and looking for a new challenging take on that particular design, then this is definitely a must play, and I think this may be one of my favorite horror games I've played in some time. So Total Chaos was played with a retail key. Into your game for a future stream does not involve horror, survival, or sledgehammers. Be sure to get in touch. Let me know what you thought about this one down below. And with that, thanks for tuning in and see everyone for some more game related content coming soon. Thanks for watching, and a special thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you enjoyed the video, do the YouTubing stuff, be sure to visit our Discord and Patreon, and you're interested in more of my thoughts on design, check out my game design books.